Dis 'n premoderne mens, wat geen wetenskap geken het nie, wat gedink het die aarde is die hemel, 'n koepel, 'n plat skuif aarde en onder die aarde, en in die plekke van die see, onder die aarde woon daar die bose, die gediertes en goed wat ons op die ou kaarte sien, in die antieke kaarte sien mens dit. Ek bid vir ons Psalm 104, jy kan jou oë toemaak, jy kan op die skerm kyk, net soos vir jou gemaklik is. Ek wil die Here loof, Here my God, U is baie groot, U is bekleed met koninklike luister, U is met 'n kleed van lig omhul. Dit is U wat die hemelkoepel soos 'n tentdoek gespan en vir U 'n woonplek ingerig het oor die waters daarbo. U wat op die wolke ry, op die vleuels van die wind. U wat die winde U boodskappers maak, die weerligte U dienaars. U wat die aarde stewig gevestig het, sodat dit nooit sal wankel nie. Die groot waters het die aarde soos 'n kleed oordek, die waters het bo die berge gestaan, maar toe U die waters aanspreek, het hulle gevlug voor die krag van die stem, het hulle die wyk geneem. Hulle het oor die berge gespoel en in die laagtes weggevloei na die plek toe wat U vir hulle bestem het. U het 'n grens gestel waaroor hulle nie mag gaan nie. Hulle mag die aarde nie weer oordek nie. U laat fonteine en valleie ontspring en tussen die berge deurstroom. Daar kom al die wilde diere drink en die wilde donkies hulle dors les. Die voëls maak hulle neste langs die water en kwetter tussen die takke. Uit die hemel laat U dit op die berge reën, die aarde word versadig deur die reën wat U gee. U laat gras uitspruit vir diere en groen plante vir die mens, sodat hy sy kos uit die om mense se harte bly te maak, olie om die gesig te versorg, kos om die mens nuwe krag te gee. Die bome van die Here kry volop reën. Die seders op die Libanon, die wat hy geplant het, waar die voëls hulle neste maak en die reiers sy huis in boomtoppe bou. Die hoë berge is 'n tuiste vir die klipbokke, die rotse is 'n skuilplek vir die dassies. U het die maan gemaak om die vaste tye mee aan te gee, die son weer wanneer om onder te gaan. Die son weet wanneer om onder te gaan. As U die donker bring en dit nag word, roer al die diere in die bos. Die leeu's brul op soek na prooi, hulle vra al kos van God. As die son opkom, sluip hulle weg en gaan lê in hulle skuilplekke. Dan gaan die mens na sy werk toe en hy werk tot die aand. U het baie dinge geskep, Here, die aarde is vol van wat U gemaak het. En tog, U het alles in wysheid geskep. Daar is die see, groot en wyd, wat wemel van diere, klein en groot. Daar vaar die skepe en daar is die Leviathan. U het hom gemaak om mee te speel. Hulle is almal van U afhanklik. U gee hulle kos op hulle tyd. U gee en hulle eet. U maak U hand oop en hulle kry meer as genoeg. Mag daar aan die roem van die Here geen einde wees nie. Mag die werk van die Here hom vreugde verskaf. Hy wat na die aarde kyk en dit bewe, wat die berge aanraak en hulle brand. Ek wil tot eer van die Here sing, solank ek lewe. Ek wil die lof van my God besing, solank as wat ek daar is. Amen. Jy kan daai lang psalm noukeurig gaan lees oor al die verskillende wonders. Ek gaan ons nie met tekskritiese notas besig hou vanaand nie. Ons het verlede week 'n lys gemaak van 25 goed wat jou in verwondering bring. As jy aan 25 goed moet dink wat jou in verwondering bring, en vanaand het ek die lys bietjie korter gemaak. So ons is op soek na om die reënboog in die oliekol op straat raak te sien. So hier doodgewoon op aarde, is wonderlik om reënboë en die tekens daarvan te sien en die herinnering te onthou. Maar die uitdaging is om die reënboog ook in die oliekol op straat, is eintlik 'n morsige besigheid. is eintlik iets waarvoor ons gril. Maar iets daarvan om die reënboog ook in die oliekool op straat te sien. So ek wil jou uitnooi om vir 'n kort tydjie te dink, nee, daai, ja, jammer, 7 dinge wat jy in die week gesien het, 7 goed in die week wat jy ervaar het, wat jou in verwondering gebring het. Nou as jy nou sweterig raak, ontspan, ook die goed wat jy dalk misgekyk het. Dis hoekom mense die oefening doen, want jy het dit dalk misgekyk. So stap so 'n bietjie deur jou week, die stoute kinders in die klas as jy 'n juffrou is, die chemiese goed wat jy dalk gemeng het, die chemiese klas wat jy dalk aangebied het, die boeke wat wonderbaarlik geklop het, of nie. Dinge wat jy ervaar het, dalk 'n sonsondergang, dalk die wonder van mense wat vure blus, Marissa, as ek luister na jou stories van verwondering oor wat daai mense doen. Gee jou kans, 7 goed wat jou in verwondering gebring het, en jy kan ontspan, jy gaan dit nie deel met iemand nie, so moenie spanning hê daaroor vanaand nie. Die doel van die oefening is net om jou bietjie in voeling te bring met die wonder van jou alledaagse. Of ook dalk dat jy moet ontdek, gids, dit was half moeilik ook. Ek het dalk verby die wonders geleef. Ek het nodig om te stop, om dit raak te sien. So die fokus vir my vir vanaand was daai gedagte, the intentional practice of wonder. So die doelbewuste beoefening van verwondering. Vroeër, toe ons in die enchanted world geleef het as mense. Wanneer jy 'n weerligstraal gesien het en gedink het dit kom van God af, wat bo die aardkoepel is, of wanneer jy baie versigtig in 'n bootjie op die see geklim het, om oor te vaar, sê net maar na die buurman toe, of wat ook al. want jy was benoud oor wat hieronder is, want die bose was die blyplek, of die see was die blyplek vir die bose. So word daar in die Bybelse tyd gedink. En daai enchanted world was wonder en reverence, is die regte woord, verwondering. Wat is die mooi woord vir reverence? Was dit iets wat baie meer natuurlik vir mense gekom het. Nou moet ons dit beoefen in die tyd waarin ons dit leef. En ons ervaar dit op sekere plekke en sekere tye, maar dalk heeltemal te min. So die gedagte van 'n habit wat jy dalk kan beoefen, wat dalk 'n hobby kan word mettertyd, en dat hierdie hobby, habit, jou manier van kyk uiteindelik verander. Dat jy nie net anders na matter sal kyk nie, maar dat jy sal sien what matters. En dat dit op 'n manier 'n stuk terapie word, dat dit op 'n manier jou rig, jou fokus. So toe ek gedink het oor die gedagte van wonder, het ek dadelik aan uit die gedink, want ons het baie gesprekke hieroor gehad. En toe gedink oor watter ekstase oomblikke sal ek nou half na die tafel toe bring. En Pieter, Bernd en Matthias was twee dadelike mense aan wie ek gedink het waarvan ek bewus is. Anne-Mart het my verlede week laat besef, maar ons sou dalk oor die wonder van die menslike liggaam ook kon gesels. Daai en raas blykbaar, skus. Die wonder van die menslike liggaam, hier sit 'n geoloog wat ons miskien kan nader om vir ons te vertel oor die waarheid van die aarde, wat ons ook baie keer, ek dink, miskyk, en die ouderdom van goed. Ons sal iets daarvan by Matthias dalk hoor volgende week. Maar ek beseker, hier is nog 'n klomp ander wonders wat ons sou kon soek, maar die gedagte van die see, wat 'n plek was waarvoor mense nog altyd ontzag gehad het. Ek weet nie wie van julle nie, maar ek het al 'n keer amper versuip in die see as 'n tienerseun, en skielik besef, ek moet baie meer ontzag vir die see, uit 'n stuk vreeservaring. Ek was seker so 13 omtrent toe dit gebeur het. En die hele gedagte van die mensdom met vroeër jare regtig gedink, die see is hierdie ontoeganklike plek, iets waarvoor ons moet bang wees. En daar's regtig monster stories van Moby Dick af reg terug, tot by daai prentjies, en ook in die Bybel hoor ons daarvan. Maar dan, my octopus teacher, what she taught me, en hy praat spesifiek nou van die seekat, maar ek dink, ons kan dit van die see ook sê, what she taught me was to feel that you're part of this place, not a visitor, and that's a huge difference. Jy is nie 'n besoeker van hierdie plek nie, maar jy is deel hiervan, en dan die ander mooi, she ignited my curiosity in a way that I had not experienced before. So my hoop, deur Pieter se storie en deur Matthias se storie, is dat jou verbeelding, maar ook jou nuuskierigheid sal wakker word, sodat jy soos hulle kan ontdek, en jy beoefen dalk al klaar iets, soos die mediese wetenskap, of onderwys, of wat ook al, dat jy al meer kan ontdek, maar jy is nie 'n visitor nie. Dit is nie iets daar, die lewe is nie 'n objek vir verbruik nie, ons hoor die verbruikerisme, maar jy is heeltemal deel daarvan. So mag jy iets daarvan ontdek. Pieter, ek wil jou vra om hier voor by my te kom sit, en dan gaan ek eers net 'n vraag of twee vir jou vra, dat jy net kan ontspan. So kom ons sit, soos daar by jou huis. En Stefan, jy kan maar Pieter se prentjies begin opsit. So sommer net die vraag oor waar jy vandaan kom.
Ek kom van Oos-London af.
Okay.
My eerste snorkel het ek op die, ek dink ek was 6 jaar oud.
6 jaar oud, jou eerste snorkel gedoen.
Ja, dan Keisers Beach in Kidspool.
Wow.
Toe begin ek duik.
Okay. En fotografie, wanneer het jy dit daarmee begin?
Toe ek my eerste kamera kon bekostig. So ek weet nie, ek het seker my pa so 'n bietjie ingeloop iewers in die land, maar ek 17, 18.
Okay, 17, 18 begin met fotografie.
Ja.
Dit was 'n Pentax
K1000.
K1000, die kamera waarvan daar die meeste gemaak is. Weet nie wie van julle dalk Pentax K1000, Sarika, ek weet jy het een op jou boekrak. Ek skuld hier nog 'n battery vir die week kan foto's neem met hom. Maar ja, so toe begin foto's neem, lankal begin snorkel en wanneer jou eerste onderwater fotografie begin doen?
In die 90e jare.
Okay.
Ja, dit is toe die Nikonos uitgekom het, de Nikon cameras, die Nikonos.
Yes.
So dit is in die 90s, ja.
Okay.
Late 80s.
Okay.
Laat 80s, ja.
En dis nou 'n vraag wat ek nie op voorberei het nie, maar hoekom het jy dit begin doen?
Ek is mal oor 'n foto. Ek is 'n visuele mens, soos ek met jou gesê, so ek sien prente, ek sien I see a shape, ek sien kleure, ek sien vorms, ek sien skaduwees, ek sien daai goed. Dis my hele lewe is so.
Right.
En en ek leef so ek wil dit afneem.
So vir hoeveel jaar is dit dan nou al?
Oh goodness, ek is amper 63, so.
So van die 90s tot nou toe omtrent, vroeg 90s.
Ja.
Okay. Stefan, jy kan maar Pieter se eerste prentjie opsit.
Net die eerste een, ja, asseblief.
Net die eerste een, nie nog nie almal nie. En dan gaan ons die klikker vir jou gee. En dan gaan ek agterna 'n vraag of twee vra, maar
Jy's welkom, ja.
Die doel van vanaand is regtig dat jy in verwondering moet kom. Toe ek na Pieter geluister het, ek kan nie vir hom sê wat ek met hom wil doen nie, dan gebruik ek hom soos 'n objek. En ons dominees doen dit dikwels. Maar toe ek na Pieter geluister het verwondering aan die een kant en conservation, groot woord ook vandag, bewaring. Verwondering en bewaring het vir my bymekaar uitgekom. Jy kan sê wat jy wil,
Nee, ek weet.
en deel vir ons wat jy wil. Ek het vir jou gesê, dis 'n oop doek. En ons sal in gesprek tree daarmee daarna, as jy klaar is, indien daar tyd is. Ja, so kom ons kyk.
Okay, dankie Pieter. Dankie, baie dankie. So, as jy nie omgee nie, gaan ek Engels praat. Dis net vir my makliker. Ek het net bietjie iets deel van die oseaan. Hy is 70% van ons wêreld, amper 70% van ons suurstof. Dis 'n baie groot it's a big carbon absorber, and the big carbon absorbers are actually the mangrove swamps and the seagrass. The seagrass is one of the biggest in the whole world. Can you believe it? Seagrass, little humble seagrass. We're going to talk a little bit later of the dire straits of the ocean, but the ocean is a very beautiful place, and I grew up with it, and it's been part of my life now for basically 60 years, more than 60 years. So I'm going to take you to different parts of the world. So I'm going to take you from the Cape. This is a photograph taken at Cape Point after a winter storm at Dyer's Beach. I am going to take you up our east coast. This is a sunrise at Morgan Bay. David was with me, Molly's was with me, after a berg wind with all the dust in the atmosphere. And at the same time, we had a beautiful moonrise with a long exposure. And then I'm going to take you even further up the coast. I'm going to take you to the magnificent Sardine Run. The Sardine Run's happening right now. That's the Umzimbuba River at Port St. John's. I must tell you, if there is ever a spirit coast in my life, it's the Wild Coast. And there's the lovely Mgazana River, and it's hard to believe it's on our own coast, really. Then I'm going to take you right through across to Indonesia, volcanic ash in the air, and this is Komodo Island, close to Komodo, a sunset, a beautiful diving boats out there, a beautiful evening, going to watch a beautiful sunset with volcanic ash like that. We're going to take you across various places in Indonesia. This is Raja Ampat, this is Pia Nemo. In eastern Indonesia, West Papua. We're going to take you to Cuba. That's the city of Havana. Going to take you to the Maldives, a little split shot of the Maldives, of us diving. And I'm going to take you to Santolina Island, Napoleon's Island. And I'm also going to take you to Cocos Island. That's in the Eastern Pacific, a really magnificently beautiful island, actually really beautiful. Gets 7,000 millimeters of rain a year. It's hard to believe, actually. So when you do underwater photography, it's a little bit different to land photography. So I'm just going to give you a really quick sort of introduction. You put your cameras in housing. So whether it's your iPhone or your GoPro or your compact or your SLR or whatever you've got, You put it into housing and you choose a lens, and you're sort of limited with that. There are some other options, but they become very, very expensive. So you either do wide angle or macro, and you can do super macro with macro. So underwater photography is traditionally sort of described as wide angle or macro. So we're going to start with wide angle, and it's my favorite format to show the whole scope of things. And I'm going to take you through a few landscape photos, then we're going to get a little bit fishy, then we're going to do a little bit of macro, then we're going to do a little bit of the big life, and then we're going to finally get to photographing people. So this is a photograph in the, and one thing I want to point out, most of these photographs are taken in protected areas, either national parks or marine protected areas. So this is taken at Atlantis Reef in Simonstown, just to show how beautiful False Bay is. So the first images of False Bay. This image is taken in Gordons Bay, not far from the coast actually, sort of about 100 meters off the shore, towards Royals. This photograph is a lot of sponges, and those little yellow things that you see, the little fluffy yellow things that you see in between, those are feather starfish. They're actually starfish. They move around. And so this is taken on Stellenbosch Deep, 11 kilometers offshore. Okay, so we've got our own hard coral in False Bay. That pink coral, that pink and white coral, is called Doble coral or Lopera coral. And it's actually a hard coral with polyps in it, and it occurs here in the cold water. It goes from here to PE. And so there's also the feather stars in it. And so, yeah, they get quite big, and it's quite proliferous, actually. It's very beautiful. Also on Stellenbosch Deep. Another photograph of Stellenbosch Deep, and you can certainly find out it's one of my favorite colorful reefs in the world, actually. A lot of sea fans, usually full of nudibranchs. You don't have a pointer for me, Peter. Do you have a pointer? To show you, if you've got one, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you haven't got one. Okay, you can. Okay, and so a lot of sea fans there. I wanted to point out those little pink anemones are called strawberry anemones. You can see them, they're tiny little things, they're absolutely beautiful. And so the kelp forest. So the kelp forest is really amazing. So what's under a kelp forest is even prettier. So we always have red sea fans, lots of sea urchins and pretty things. So, and it's really nice to play with light.
You know how this one works. It's your wife's.
No, I don't. Oh, she brought it with.
Another one?
Which one? I just want to point out things.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Thank you. Okay. No, that's fine. Thank you. No problem. So, I think for me, the wonder of False Bay is its wonderful colors. And you're going to see now what I'm saying when you see the other parts of the world. Again, another kelp, in the kelp forest. Another lot of feather stars and some fish from Stellenbosch Deep. And some more. As you can see, it's just colorful and beautiful and lots of light filtering through the kelp forests, and it's really a nice place to be. Okay, not many of you have seen these things before. This is...
Sorry, can I show you quickly?
Yeah, you got something here?
Actually got a pointer on it.
Oh, I can do that.
That button right there.
That button there, okay. It's a miracle. Okay. Wonder, yeah, it's a wonder. So these things are beautiful. You get baskets. It's a starfish. You know what a little starfish that you see in the pools? This is a starfish. It's a basket starfish. So basket starfish are very interesting things. They extend their legs, and they've got little hands and feet, as you can see, and they catch food like that. They stick them out and they catch food. So this is our basket star in False Bay, and I've seen many basket stars across the world, and I think we've got the prettiest one, and that's what it looks like. It's absolutely a delightful creature, so we see them quite a lot. This is taken in Simonstown. Okay, so we're going to move up the coast a bit. You can see the landscape's changed a little bit. A place where I really want to dive a little bit more, Gqeberha or Port Elizabeth. These are reefs in Algoa Bay, and really, really pretty reefs. The times I've dived there, the visibility has been very bad. So, but anyway, very, very beautiful. Then we're moving up the coast, right up to Sodwana Bay. This is still South Africa, to our own coral reefs. which are part of the whole sandstone formation that comes down from Mozambique. And this is taken in KZN. Okay, so we're moving a bit further afield. So we are now in Komodo, so we're in the South Florida Sea, north of Australia, in the right eastern part of Indonesia, and you can see the feather stars are different colors, and glassfish, there are trillions of glassfish. I don't know how many, it's a pantropical species. I don't know how many there are in the whole world, but there's just millions and millions of them. So they're really a photogenic thing. So you've got huge sea fans, and some of them are meters and meters high. I'm going to try and give you a perspective just now of what they are like with people in them, but it's really beautiful. Well, that sea fan is about 3 meters wide and about 1.5 meters high. So it's a very beautiful thing. So we're still in Komodo, we're still down there. This little orange fish are Anthias. Anthias is also a pantropical species, many species, different colors. They've got quite an interesting, they're all born female. Everyone's born female, and the dominant female changes into a male to breed, and that's how they work. And so very interesting little things. So also down there, a coral bommie. So a little coral hump is called a bommie, B-O-M-M-I-E. It's called a coral bommie. And these fish will find refuge there every night. So they'd get eaten at night when the predators hunt, but in the daytime they're pretty brave. So let me see if I can find this pointer. There I can. There's a male, there's a female. There's a male, there's a female. And so, yeah, that's how the Anthias work, with little damselfish all around and other little creatures all around there. So, okay, 2 beautiful reefs. So quite often, the stronger the current, the better the diving, in terms of what you see, but the harder the diving. So these were 2 diving sites. Komodo's got a lot of strong currents. The one is called Shotgun, which really means you go over it like a shotgun. You can't even take a photograph. But so this is one of where the current's a bit stronger. Big sponges. There's a big sponge up there. That's a feather star, red one. Lots and lots of Anthias. So this is a very nice dive site. And the same thing again. So what I want you to see is the absolute abundance and glorious color and abundance of life that exists in this world. I must tell you that in terms of biodiversity, we're looking at the most biodiverse part of planet Earth. So there's many, many thousands of species of everything here, the Indo-Pacific, so it's really good. But in case we forget, and especially our sea, our own ocean, and our own flowers, we're the 3rd most biodiverse country on Earth. So Indonesia, Brazil, and South Africa, as in that order. Okay, so we're moving off. That's a pink lace sea fan. We're going down to Raja Ampat. Raja Ampat was a desert. 40, 50 years ago, they used to do dynamite to kill the fish. They killed the coral reefs. They did everything, and the Indonesian government came back, and the people became empowered, and they protected it. And it's now possibly the best dive site in the whole world. It's a big area, relatively big areas. So you've got Papua New Guinea and West Papua that are the same island. So it's right down next to Papua New Guinea. And Raja Ampat is a place that once you've been there, it's a ridiculous place. The orchids and the pitcher plants just hang into the seawater. It's just ridiculous. It's an amazing place to be. So it's a big pink lace, a sea fan with lots of fish. Okay, I put the slide in on purpose. Dave and I did this dive, and the mobula rays, which were quite deep, we couldn't really see them, were in this cloud. This is a cloud of fish. This is just fish. This is just tens of thousands of fish. And like stupid numbers. And this is how the Earth was. This is how the ocean was. Okay, still in Raja Ampat. All these next slides are Raja Ampat. These sea fans are up to 2-3 meters tall. Lots and lots of fish. Yes, I hope this is the side I was looking for. So there's a coral trout. That thing's about that big. So, really spectacular stuff. So it's made out of limestone little islands and little cliffs. The limestone erodes underneath at the high and the low tide, so it becomes like a mushroom. And so this is a big sea fan looking up at the little cliff next to it. And then they took us into shallower water, and this was a really nice dive, and where there's a little fish at the top there, lots of little fish up the top there. That's the surface of the water, and a big sea fan underneath. And these things you see millions and millions of them, similar to our redbait, same family. Okay, also at Raja Ampat, just a whole lot of fish, almost in perfect formation, swimming over. Okay, so one of my other nice things that I like is brain coral. It looks like a brain, doesn't it? So this is a late afternoon dive, early evening dive. I'm doing some close focus macro work, and a little lump of brain coral with the reflection of the water up. We actually came up at sunset. This is a place called Melissa's Reef. I've never seen staghorn coral like this. It was just like huge amounts of staghorn coral, which is really nice to see, and so many fish. I mean, really, there's another photo of Melissa's Reef. This is one of the big researchers in this part of the world, and named it after his daughter, the reef. And then you got the jetties in Raja Ampat, lots of jetties in Indonesia, obviously jetties everywhere, but they're quite famous because they get colonized by the fish and by the animals and by the corals and everything else like this. This is quite a well-known jetty. And those are batfish. I love batfish. And then you can see that's a big soft coral. So you get hard and soft corals. You get cold and warm water corals. You've got corals under the South Pole, actually. In Antarctica, you've got proper corals. So it's an animal, a polyp that lives in a house, either made of calcium or something else. And yeah, that's taken with a fisheye lens. And those are different kind of anthias, so the pink anthias. That was taken at Bunikan. So Bunikan is quite an accessible place if you ever want to go overseas to Indonesia. Very nice diving, very, very clear water. Quite close to Manado, quite an accessible place to go to. Okay, so split shots are one of the things I want to do more. This is a mangrove swamp in the Ardennes de la Reina. It's about 200 km south of Hukaro, which is in Cuba. So we're in the Caribbean, and mangroves are just amazing things, and they're a big nursery for a lot of fish, and especially baby sharks. Also in Cuba, and this photo was taken actually in Indonesia. This was taken on Bunikan. Okay, so now we're in Cuba. Interesting part of the world. Fidel Castro, for all of his good or bad, whatever he did in life, declared a marine park in the early 60s or mid 60s. So nobody's been fishing here since then, which makes it quite unique, and there really is a lot of life. The Caribbean hasn't got the diversity that the East has, but it's still a very, very pretty place, and it's full of big fish. And big sponges. You're going to see just now, let's point them out. Those little fish are fairy basslets. Those little fish, they're about that big. So this sponge is about that high. And it's got beautiful sponges. Okay, the Caribbean's very famous for this. They look black underwater because red absorbs, all the light, so you can't see it. It looks black. And when you put light on them, when you put strobes on them, they come out red. This finger sponge is very beautiful. And it also comes out with these beautiful fans with a little bit of purple in them, and the red sponges. It's really a very pretty place to be. The water's very warm. It was 32 degrees Celsius when we dived there. So really hot water. A jellyfish at sunset, also in Cuba. Just looking at reflections. I told you see some more brain coral, also in Cuba. You can see the reef structure. If you see those other pictures that I've shown you of Indonesia, you see the reef structure, and even South Africa, the reef structure is completely different, and quite a lot less colorful, actually. Okay, the one thing I haven't seen a lot of, I've seen a lot, but not enough. I suppose there's never enough. Soft coral, the same polyps that make this organism up. This is taken in the Philippines, but the capital of soft coral is Fiji Island, the Fiji Islands, so I need to get there some stage. Okay, we're going to get a bit more fishy. So we all know who this guy is. That's a red Roman. But just to show you how beautiful they actually are, quite an iconic fish, completely endemic to this country, actually from Port Elizabeth down to the Cape. That's where they live. They live nowhere else. And so, yeah, this is taken at Stellenbosch deep. Right. So this is a little shy shark. And any of you who are fishermen always get irritated when you catch these little baby sharks. You think they're baby sharks. They're actually full-grown sharks. This is the puff-adder shy shark. Just going to get the pointer here. So it's a big red sponge. This is also taken in Gordons Bay. And it's quite a beautiful little thing. Yeah, so my octopus teacher. It was actually quite an interesting, I haven't got all the slides up because there's not enough time for it, but I had an old interaction with this creature because I was in its way between its den, and the big ones are normally females, and where I was. So I was blocking its den, and it tried to camouflage itself, and then I got out the way, and then it came down. It's making itself look big to make me look scared, to make me scared. It was a really big octopus. This was taken also in Gordons Bay, close to Royals. Another picture of a little puff-adder shy shark. They're about this long. But you can see our life in False Bay is full. I don't know if you've noticed, when I show you pictures of False Bay, there's no room for anything. Everything is just packed. And David Attenborough always talked about the blue sea and the green sea. And the green sea is the most productive sea. It's not the most biodiverse, but it's the most productive sea. This is also taken at Royals, a big cuttlefish, giving me a beady eye. There's its eye over there. Okay, so now we're in Cocos Island. Cocos Island is a big reserve, and it's been opened up now from Galapagos to Cocos, right? It's a very, very big reserve now, one of the biggest ocean reserves in the world. These are jacks, different kinds of jacks, also pantropical species, right down deep to about. Diving at Cocos Island is quite hard. I thought I knew currents, but the currents here are just another level. And this is about 35 meters down in a big cave. And yeah, it's just so nice to see so many fish. It's really nice. And I was telling somebody just now, these fish are all swimming upwards. There's lots of these fish around. They're pretty. Why are they swimming upwards? Because the current's pushing you down. I've never experienced that in my life before. If you breathe out when you're diving, your bubbles go down. So it's actually quite scary, actually. Okay, Pomona jacks. Also a pantropical species, but the Eastern Pacific is really well known for the huge numbers of them, up tens of thousands at one time in the reserves. They're quite a big fish, actually. It's about this big. So I'm going to show you scale just now. But really wonderful to see so many of these things around. Can you see the fish? There's the fish over there. It's a sole family. There's little eyes. There's an eye. There's an eye. There's a pectoral fin. But camouflage is nice. So I can't be eaten. So there's a lot of, I don't know if anybody, I'm sure some of you have watched The Blue Planet and that. There's a lot of feeding together. Fish sometimes get together to feed because the one fish chases something out that the other fish wants. So this is a lot of tangs. These are tangs. There's a blue tangs, there's striped tangs, and then there's also triggerfish here. And they eat different things. So these are vegetarians, they're vegans. But that is not a vegan. And so the one chases a little fish out so that this little guy can have a meaty meal. So, okay, moray eels, surprisingly docile. This is also taken in Costa Rica, Cocos Island. Due to the very strong currents, you don't get coral reefs. This is coral. There are polyps. It's quite a robust coral. And the morays are quite big and quite in your face, actually, but they're very nice. So, quite an interesting photograph. These are grouper. They're about this big. So it's quite a specific species to the Eastern Pacific, also in Cocos Island. So they're busy hunting, and here's a hogfish waiting for the bit to come up, the hapless soul that came up with, who took the gap. Okay, we're back in Komodo Island. This is a place called Batu Belong. It's a rock in the middle of the really strong current. I mean, if you land in that current, you're dead. And so you stay in the lee of the rock all the time, and it's full of life. There's a nice moray eel. Okay. So David's behind there with a light. This is also in Komodo. This is a frogfish. Here's a painted frogfish. It's hanging sort of upside down. There's its eye. There's its mouth. That's its pectoral fin. There's its tail. And there's its dorsal fin over here. So they're stealth hunters. This is a big one. They're giant frogfish. This is a giant painted frogfish. It's about that big. And they're stealth hunters. So they will have something, well, I'll show you later, where they dangle like an anglerfish, a little thing, over their head, and little fishes come by and then they swallow it. Okay. We're going to talk about cleaning stations. They're very important things in the ocean. So most fish, turtles, sharks have cleaning stations. That's the cleaner. So this thing will come and nibble on all the little wounds and the damage on this batfish's skin, take off the parasites, the bacteria, and everything else. And they've got specific places where they stay. So it's a photographer's dream because these things stop. They don't swim away from you. They want this little guy to come and clean them. This is a batfish, also in Komodo. Okay, Nemos. There's so many kinds of Nemos, really. This is in Roger Ampot. These are my favorites. And there are lots of them around. Some more Nemos. This is in Bunnikin. This whole thing is a big anemone. And so what they do is they brush themselves in the anemone, and they brush themselves and brush themselves. They're quite aggressive little fish. They do bite you, actually, and they do bounce into your wetsuit. They're actually quite aggressive. They've got serious teeth. And it's one of the first fish that have ever been recorded, if you've ever watched The Blue Planet, where somebody found out that fish communicate with sound. And they actually have got a language, a primitive language, but a language like a bird. They've got a language. So these were the guys that they did it on. This is also in Bunnikin, near Manado. This whole thing is an anemone, and there were so many clownfish around. It was just beautiful. Okay, we're in the Maldives. A dive site called the Fish Factory. So a lot of the Maldives, they're fish dependent. So it's a group of islands where people have to eat fish. But it's heavily protected. You're not allowed to kill a shark in the Maldives, fortunately. The fish factory is a fish factory. So the offal, the remains of whatever they've used, gets put down in this place, and it draws an incredible amount of life. These are big honeycomb morays. Despite their appearance, these things are totally docile. I mean, you can really touch them. It's like a puppy dog. Yes, they are. And, okay, there are a lot of these things around too. And just an amazing amount of fish. I mean, these are threadback angels, surgeonfish, you can see them. And it's just like all in the same dive site. And big rays come by, and they've got these little blue triggerfish around. And you can see, if you look in the background, really, you can see huge numbers of fish all over the place. Very nice to see. Okay, spotted eagle rays, something I want to see more of. Also in the Maldives, there's another one coming this way. Really pretty rays. I know a big ray killed Steve Irwin, but it was a fluke accident, really it was. Rays are very docile. These things are very docile. You can feed them with your hand. You can, if you watch some of the guys feeding them in the Two Oceans Aquarium, they are like puppy dogs also. Also in the Maldives, these things are pantropical. They striped grunts. Sorry, that other fish that I just showed you, that pretty one, it's actually called a sweet lips. These are striped grunts. They occur in huge numbers and huge shoals. If you want to photograph a fish in a shoal, they should be all facing the same direction. It makes a better photograph. Also in the Maldives, different kinds of coral that I hadn't seen before, and that's also a coral. It's a soft coral. It's quite unique. It's actually endemic to the Maldivian Islands in the Indian Ocean. So still in the Maldives, still in the Ari Atoll, in the mid Maldives. Batfish, another one of my favorite fish. I love batfish. These fish are about that big. Interesting photograph, maybe. So they're all facing the right direction. This was taken in Sodwana Bay in South Africa. And yeah, they were perfectly lined up. Okay, we're going to St. Helena Island. St. Helena Island is in the Atlantic Ocean. So it's got this cold Benguela current coming up, then it slowly gets warmer. So this water was about 23, 24 in the midsummer. Midsummer's all right. It's got an endemic butterfly fish, which I'm going to show you a lot of. Here they are. They occur in huge numbers. They've got quite a good conservation story. That's a mobula that was busy feeding on the butterfly fish. Mobulas are also fantastic. So what St. Helena's got is a volcanic island. So the lava went into the ocean, and there were holes in the lava. As the magma flowed through here, there were holes that were made. And it's a beautiful, what they call overhead environment when you dive. It allows light through. These are big-eye squirrelfish. Also a pantropical species. Some more squirrelfish and some light coming through. When I said there are a lot of butterfly fish, there really are a lot of them. They're insane numbers of them. Midsummer, this is a wreck actually, very shallow water, 10 meters. And this is a wreck with enormous. And then the goatfish joined up. And I was quite astounded, not by the diversity, but the sheer numbers of fish that were in these waters, St. Helena. And when you look up, that's what you see. You just see fish. Okay, we're going small. We're going to macro. Whenever you're fishing again in the rock pool or in a little gully and you get a little clip pussy coming up, please look at its dear little eyes. They're very pretty, actually. This is taken in Gordon's Bay. This is taken off the Strand. This is in the Strand. This is also a clip pussy. Many, many species. I think there are about 40 or 50 of them. Many species of them. Beautiful little fish in the Strand. Okay, one of our common octopus, Octopus vulgaris, the same one as an octopus teacher. Octopus vulgaris occurs, it's also an animal that occurs in many places on the earth. They say that it's probably got the biggest brain. It's the cleverest. So another little clip pussy, Stellenbosch deep. Look how camouflaged it is to its weed around it. So macro is anything from half life size, a quarter life size, half life size, and then you get wet lenses that you put over your dome port. So the camera housing comes with a dome port, and wet lenses take you up to you can go up to 4 times life size, but it becomes impossible to focus. So my stuff goes up to 2.5 times life size, which we'll talk about just now. I've got to introduce nudibranchs. Nudibranchs are snails, like a snail in your garden, but they've got no shell on them. It's a slug. So what they do is they eat poisonous things, and then they advertise their poisonous nature by bright colors. And I must tell you that our creator went mad with these things. Absolutely mad. This is a candy nudibranch in Stellenbosch deep. Quite a small thing. It's about 1 centimeter long. This is our beautiful gas flame. It's quite big. They get about 2.5 centimeters, but our gas flames are just absolutely spectacular. That's what they look like. So these are the rhinopores, little organs of sense. And the gills, I'm going to show you gills just now. I'll show you when I get to the fireys. And I don't know if you notice, this is Gordon's Bay. There's bits of coral here, so. Okay, so everybody that knows a rock pool knows a suckerfish. They get quite big. They've got these beautiful big eyes. This one's lost its tooth. It's quite a big one. Quite cute. Gordon's Bay. Another clipfish here in Gordon's Bay. Okay, there's 2 fiery nudibranchs. They're also about 1 centimeter long. There's the gill over there. There's the gill over there. Little rhinopores in the front. This is an egg. These are the eggs. These 2 have just mated. These are the eggs that they've laid. Little baby gas flame, also at Gordon's Bay. Little frilly nudibranch, also at Stellenbosch deep, Gordon's Bay. A pipefish. I don't know how many of you know pipefish. There are a lot of pipefish in False Bay. There are lots of them. They're actually quite common. They occur up the coast to about the Southern Cape, the Hoop area. If you're ever at Honeston again, in the shallows, this deep, waist deep in the water, you can see them. They're there. Okay. Another clipfish, Gordon's Bay. Look at the crazy pink, really crazy pink colors and those beautiful eyes. My last picture, so this was taken just before I went to Cocos Island, was taken this year. I just was amazed. This is off Stellenbosch River mouth. These are pink corals, soft corals. This anemone fascinated me because it took on the same color as the corals. Then you have this orange sponge behind it. I mean, it's quite crazy colors, actually. Okay. I don't know how many of you know Puff of Netflix, Puff. Anyway, Puff is a little pufferfish and it's charting its life. And these are pufferfish. They really are photogenic. This is taken in Cocos Island. Cocos Island's not really an island for macro photographs. There are not many opportunities to do it. But I want to show you a little fella, blennies. Now, a blenny is close like a clipfish or what we call gobies. I don't know what the common word is. We used to call them bullies. Little sand gobies that we get here. This is a little blenny. It's about 1 centimeter long. And it's completely endemic to the island. You don't get them anywhere else in the world. Little red-nosed thing. Okay, this is a worm. This is a worm. So this worm feeds by putting this thing out. We call them Christmas worms, Christmas tree worms. This is taken in Cuba, and this is how they feed. They feed with those little things out there. They feed like that. So there are many species. You get them in South Africa, you get them in False Bay. There are many colors, but the tropical ones are generally prettier. This is called a fairy basslet. This is also in Cuba. Looks like it's been dipped in purple ink. Quite photogenic little fish because they're quite approachable. About 1.5 centimeters, 2 centimeters long. The insides of a jellyfish in Cuba. Okay, take me to your leader. Yeah, it is, something like this. A little crab in Cuba. It's probably 2 centimeters, 1.5 centimeters. I've forgotten its name, actually. I was trying to think this afternoon. I can't remember all these names, but it was in a big pink sponge, and yeah, it was very photogenic and quite happy to be photographed, so beautiful. Little arrow blenny, about 1 centimeter long, part of the blenny family. They keep that curled tail all the time. They keep it like that. And when you try and photograph them, they dart off all the time, so very frustrating sometimes. Little spectacle blenny, they live in the sponges, also about 1 centimeter long. A spectacle, it's got little things on its head, and yeah, you can see it's got quite a serious little tooth. It's a small fish, I mean, it's really small, but obviously a little hunter. Again, I told you you'll see more brain coral. This is in Cuba. All those photographs are in Cuba. This is also taken in Cuba. The brain coral is just simply beautiful. Also in Cuba, a little glassfish with this little mirror partner in the background across a brain coral. Okay, so now we're going to Indonesia. Indonesia has got many places to see small life. We're still on macro life. In fact, the Indo-Pacific is actually famous for it. And it becomes very cryptic and very difficult to see. This is a little filefish. This photograph was taken by David on the mainland, North Sulawesi Sea in Manado. And this little filefish was about 1.5, 2 centimeters long. It was just lying completely still next to green weed. Really pretty little thing. And so a lot of the plants and the animals there have specific little creatures that live their entire existence out in that organism. And they feed there. So this is a little pink crab. This is taken in, also taken in Manado, I think. It wasn't in Lembe Strait, also in Manado. So we're going to Lembe Strait. I want you first to notice the black volcanic soil. Lembe Strait is a very busy shipping lane. It's not a reserve. It's also in the North Sulawesi Sea, so it's northern Indonesia, near Manado, the big port of Betong. And this is a hairy frogfish. So there's this little pectoral fins. It crawls across the bottom of the ocean. There's this little lure. It'll eventually do it. It's a yellow one. We're going to see more of these guys when we go to the Philippines. But, it's quite interesting that the life still survives despite actually oil spills and pollution and tires and everything else it's actually quite amazing. There's the shrimp. So I don't know if this is an anemone. Look at the white, look at the white, look at the color, look at the color. And so many of these creatures are like this. So many of these creatures live like this. We have to tell you about a mantis shrimp. These things are vicious, very vicious. They are about that long, very pretty. This is a peacock mantis. This is the prettiest. So they've got two kinds of weapons. One of them has got a scimitar, like a hook, where it'll grab a fish. It's got a hook. This one's got the little hammers, so it'll cavitate water. So it'll actually pull air out of water at this depth when it hits something. And so they know if they put them in a fish tank, it'll crack through the glass in the fish tank quite easily. That's how so it knocks shells and it eats the inside of the shell. That's what it does. They're very beautiful things, but very confident little creatures. Okay, there's a shrimp, a crinoid shrimp. There's the shrimp. There's an eye, shrimp, and this is the crinoid. This is basically similar to the feather stars, something slightly different. So very cryptic. Again, here's the shrimp. There it is. Here its legs are. There's a little nipper is. Here it is. This is the anemone it lives in. So it matches the thing completely. So the enemies can't see it. A candy crab, also on top of a piece of pink. There's its eye. There's its eye there. Candy crab. Also, these things are small. This candy crab is less than a centimeter, or maybe a centimeter. Okay. You're getting to one of my favorite things, amongst other things. Pygmy seahorses. This is Hippocampus denise, an orange form. So pygmy seahorses were only discovered in the late 90s. Nobody knew about them before the late 90s. There's 18 species. There were 17 until some very wonderful young lady in KwaZulu-Natal discovered one in South Africa called Hippocampus nalu. That's her middle name. Savannah Olivier is her name. So these things are, if you take your little pinky, look at your pinky now, they're that size. They are very cryptic, very hard to see. You need a dive guide really to show them to you, even though you know where they live. And they really are robust little creatures. So if you bring your camera up to them, they flip around at the speed of light almost, and they disappear. So one has to, so in Lembe, which is one of the macro diving sites of the world, they got thin little metal sticks called Lembe sticks. I'm going to show you some more. We're going to get back to this is a decorator crab. This is in Komodo. So it pulls polyps off. These are polyps that it rips off and plants on itself. Well, it's about 2 centimeters, and tries to. Nobody can. The predators can't see it, so it's trying to camouflage itself the whole time. It's a wonderful photograph taken by David. You don't often see this. A small crab, less than a centimeter. So what it does is, it's got little, I don't know, like a polyp-like attachment to its legs. And it's busy catching food. That's how it eats. So it waves them up in the air, and that's how it catches. It's a very beautiful thing. You don't often see them doing this. Okay, octopi. This is the veined octopus, or the coconut octopus. Coconut octopus love sitting in shells and things like this. They're very pretty, very pleasant, always very pleasant to see them. Often at night. This is in Lembe Strait in Indonesia. This thing is also amazing. This is a sea anemone. It's purple. Here's a shrimp. There's this one part of the body. It's clear here. There's its eye. There's its eye. Here's its little pincers over here. There's its feelers going up. So these things are very, very cryptic, and even more cryptic. Little piece of soft coral. And here's a shrimp. There's an eye. There's an eye. There's a shrimp sitting here. There's its leg sitting over there. Tiny, tiny, tiny. 5 millimeters, 4 millimeters. Tiny things. Little hairy crab. Also, little eye, sitting on an anemone. So it looks like nothing. So it doesn't look like food. More Nemos on a big anemone. Anemones come in all sorts of colors. Okay, here's the very pretty little pygmy seahorses. This is Hippocampus barbaganti, curled up beautifully. This is also taken in Lembe. Really a beautiful little creature. So you can see how hard it must be to find. So this little stick over here, Lembe stick, is, David, how much? 5 millimeters thick. So this is what the seahorse looks like. Tiny little things. This is a pregnant male. I don't know if you know seahorses. The males carry the eggs and the babies. So she deposits her eggs in his pouch, and he fertilizes them, and he carries the babies, and he gives birth. And it's a little pregnant male. And little pink hairy squat lobster, also as big as a normal nail on your hand. Little eye. The whole body's clear with little hairs on it. Nudibranchs are full up. So this is another nudibranch. I've told you about nudibranchs. This is also one in Indonesia. Okay, harlequin shrimp. That's the boy, that's the girl. Makes sense, eh, Peter? So she's got the big nippers here, and she eats this, and he eats that. And this was also taken in Indonesia. She's about 2 centimeters, he's about 1 centimeter. Oh, this is a very small pygmy seahorse, less than your pinky. Hippocampus pentoi, very well camouflaged little guy. Little stuff stuck to him so nobody can see him or it. A boxer crab. A boxer crab is a small crab. What it does is it picks up, 2 centimeters, let's call it. It harvests sea anemones, keeps them on his claws, and he's quite cruel actually, nips them down, keeps them small, starves them, and uses them to catch food, which it eats. It's quite a naughty little fish, a little crab. This is a giant frogfish, a hairy frogfish, a black one, eye, mouth, with all these little fronds. There's a little thing that it uses to catch things with. Another nudibranch. There's light-sensing organs. You can see them now. They have got light-sensing organs. There they are there. Most of you know a pufferfish in South Africa. I mean, a pufferfish, very similar relation. This is called a stargazer, so it's a kind of pufferfish. Big mouth, it sits buried in the black volcanic gravel, and it'll grab its prey when the time is right. Okay, another Nemo. So I want to show you something here. You can't see the 2 little eyes on the screen, but there are 2 little eyes there. So a lot of these creatures get parasites, well, like most things. This is one that's very specific to the clownfish family, and they live on the clownfish's tongue. Okay. The one little creature that I wanted to see, this is taken in Raja Ampat. This is the coral. There's the eye of the seahorse. There's his little nose. There it goes around like that. That was taken by a dive guide who was deep in decompression time at about 37 meters, which I also had no time. And I had to take the photograph very quickly. The first, it's called the Christmas boboganti. It's a Christmas seahorse. So night dives are amazing. Night dives are really wonderful things. And this is a nice squid, a couple of centimeters long, taken in a night dive. This was taken in Bunikan. We're back in the Maldives, and I'm going to show you a couple of pictures of cleaner wrasse. It was a beautiful dive and a very quiet dive. It was nearly an hour and 20 minutes, 2 hours almost. Very nice. And so all the fish come along, and they're just nipping off parasites, cleaning up dead skin, looking after the fish. Little surgeon fish being cleaned. Little baby Antheus in the Maldives. Just looks so happy to me. Little cornet fish. Another Nemo against the blue, also in the Maldives. These guys you can see quite regularly, little shrimps. They live in these anemones that have got big fat, sort of, whatever you call them, appendages or whatever. Quite a nice little thing. Little coral gobies. They normally stay in pairs. You get used to finding them, also very small. We're in the Philippines now. A rather beautiful nudibranch in the Indo-Pacific, this purple thing with the white rim. So quite clearly you can see those are the gills, nudibranch, naked gill, and these are the rhinopores, the sensory organs. Horrible little tiger shrimp. They are beautiful, but they're impossible to photograph. They move like lightning. They're less than a centimeter long, and they're very frustrating, actually. But they're quite camouflaged, and they're beautiful. Okay, Mr. Bobbit worm. Mr. Bobbit worm is quite thick. and Mr. Bob worms about that thick. Incredible hunter. They get quite long, actually. It's a thick, very aggressive worm. It's a worm. It's got a set of teeth up here. It's always got these iridescent colors, and it'll take down anything. Anything. We've seen it hunt. It's quite scary, actually. I wouldn't put my finger there. You will probably come up missing a bit of it. And it won't be pleasant. Okay, the Wonderpuss octopus, that's what it's called. This thing was only discovered in the late 90s, near 2000. It's a very beautiful, it's spread out like you saw the octopus in False Bay. It spread itself out, make itself look big and scary. They got bright colors. They advertise different things when they got bright colors. This one's advertised, it's got bright colors because it's got an incredibly strong beak. And its warning is out there, I can bite you. It's small. It's that big, but it's so I can bite you. Okay, there's a Nemo. There's Daddy Nemo. Those are eggs. I'm going to see lots of Nemo eggs just now. Those are Nemos with its eggs. Other little coral goby, less than a centimeter. Another one of these little shrimps. There's a frogfish. Now, that's what I wanted to show you. There's the hunting appendage. So this guy's busy walking along in the Philippines, and he's flicking this thing up and down, hoping a fish will come by and get attracted by the lure. Okay, there's the shrimp over there, guys. There it is. There it is. It's almost clear. This is an anemone. There's a little eye of the shrimp. There's its tail over there. There's his little claws. Okay. So blackwater diving, something I haven't done a lot of, something I want to do a lot more of. They take you down over many kilometers of water. It has to be deep water. So the sea is a soup. All the larval stuff and all the larval creatures, everything that's born, whatever, the mantis shrimp, the fish, I mean, everything is part of the soup of the sea. Not the phytoplankton, so it's part of the soup of the sea. So they hang lights in the water down to about 25 meters, and you stay in a pitch dark night, and you wait about a half an hour. Then you go back to those lights that are busy drifting in the water. You see what's been attracted to the lights, and you get in the black water. And so this is a lovely squid, and it's got a fish in its mouth. There's the fish. It's busy eating. It's busy eating. This was taken in the Philippines, also taken in the Philippines. Flamboyant cuttlefish, it's busy eating, so it's busy catching something over here. Their eyes always look like this, also about 2 centimeters at the biggest. So we've got the mimic octopus. The mimic octopus can look like anything, so about that big. Also in the Philippines, so it's trying to fool me into thinking it's a flounder, like a fish. The same octopus does that. The next minute does that. So I'm now big and aggressive, and then I'm looking like something else again. And they're actually amazing creatures to spend time with, and that's what they do. That's all the same octopus. A little crab on an anemone. This is the underside of the anemone with the orange on it. This is a very close-up of a coral polyp. Took that in the Philippines also. Just another little blenny. So lemon gobies are very attractive in the Indo-Pacific. So this is a sea urchin shell. If you go to Plettenberg Bay, you get shells like this as well. They're sea urchins that are now dead. So these things look for hiding places. So this is one's found this little nest and hiding place in a shell. Painted frogfish. So this one's got a slightly different thing to hunt with. An algae octopus. It looks like a piece of algae, also in the Philippines. Same octopus. They're really incredible creatures. The blue rings, there are a couple of species of blue rings that occur in the cold water of Australia into the Indo-Pacific. So the ring is a warning. When it puts its rings on, this is a very poisonous octopus. They've got enough poison to kill 17 people. It's a tiny little thing, but it's quite a confident little creature. A bobtail squid. The bobtail squid's 2 centimeters, and they're so cute. Look at his little tentacles over here. So this is a sea pen, a crab that lives just on these sea pens. You can see the sea pen going up like this. They live just there. There's nowhere else that they live. Another painted frogfish. Okay, so these things are skeleton shrimps. I don't want to describe how small they are, 5 millimeters or less. So it hooks on like this. There are a couple of species of them. This one was taken in the Philippines. There's different ways of lighting things. You can use flashes for different ways, and you put your flashes out in you. There's a whole lot of ways. This is called a light shaping device, or what they call snoots. So you focus a beam of light vertically above the thing, and it's a very narrow beam of light. Not an easy technique to get on with, but it makes very nice photographs. So you can see the two little eyes over there, very small creature. Nemos. Those are baby Nemos. Little eyes. These are little baby fish. There's Nemo with his babies. It's the bigger one, that'll be the female. There's a bobtail swift, snooted, digging down into the sand. You can see the little eyes, boom, boom. A mantis shrimp with her eggs. She was quite possessive of those eggs, I must be honest. Also in the Philippines. Didn't want me to come anywhere near her. A little whip coral shrimp, that is a shrimp. Its eyes are over there, very cryptic. An emperor shrimp sitting on a sea cucumber. A Nemo that looks happy but actually wants to bite you. So this is a thorny seahorse, quite a big seahorse, also in the Indo-Pacific, on a sea pen. This is what they call a sea pen. So my dive buddy took her torch and backlit this whole thing for me. So we had this backlit image of the seahorse, which I thought was rather nice. Another goby. Ghost pipefishes. There's the pipefish hanging upside down. There's its eye. Its mouth goes down like this. A tiny little mouth. There it is again. They're quite common actually, but not easy to photograph. Another little bobtail digging into the sand. So when you see them, they just dig into the sand. Some more ornate ghost pipefish. The name of this octopus, they called it an ocelot octopus, but it isn't. I don't know what its name is. It's really beautiful. This thing was also putting up these tentacles to make itself look big for me, to scare me off. That's another emperor shrimp on a sea cucumber. The eyes of a mantis shrimp are incredible. They're amazing. A hairy frogfish. In case you can't see the eye, there's the eye. The mouth is over here. Another skeleton shrimp. This is all Philippine stuff now. More Nemos with their eggs. This is a big conch. You know, in the Caribbean, they eat conches. Conches are big shells with an animal in it, a mollusk in it. So this is a mollusk, quite a big shell, but I just thought it was quite nice for the eyes. A lemon goby again. I haven't put in too many photos of lionfish, but this is a lovely little lionfish taken in Komodo. A big cuttlefish, like in 8-10 centimeters long, and they're quite confident creatures. Another little candy crab. Another little frogfish, hairy frogfish with its eye and its mouth. And look at all the appendages, so it's a very cryptic animal. Now, leaf scorpion fish, we get them in South Africa. Also, kind of scorpion fish, but also big mouth, also very cryptic. There's a mantis shrimp out in the open, the peacock mantis, a really pretty little thing. And then the mandarin fish. Mandarin fish are funny little creatures. They live in broken reefs. They don't like a fresh coral reef. They're looking for broken reefs. They live in rubble. And they come out every evening. Here's the male. That's the female. And all they do is, he eats, protects his little harem, and mates. That's all he does his whole life. And so they breed, and these two, they sit in the broken coral, and they'll quickly flick up, and she'll put her eggs out, and he'll put his sperm out, and it's like lightning, so it's quite a difficult photo. This photo was taken by David, actually. There they come up again. Really pretty little things, and a baby frogfish slowly walking across the bottom, very small. You can see the grains of sand. So it's a really little fish. Of course, a little trunkfish or pufferfish looking at us. Another lionfish, a different kind. Another baby coconut octopus. And big anemone, often havens for lots of things. Tiny little crab sitting in the middle, little fish sitting over here. These beautiful anemones walking across in Indonesia. Okay, we're in St. Helena Island. The reason why I put up this image is it's quite interesting. There's a scorpion fish over there. So there it is. Its eye, mouth is over there. Pectoral fin is over there. Here's a crayfish. There's a moray eel. So octopus eats crayfish. Moray eel eats octopus. So these two live together for obvious reasons. A very endemic little angelfish to St. Helena Island. You only see them over 30 meters, 35 meters. A very pretty little creature. Okay, I'm just going to take you quickly to Neisner. This was taken in the Neisner Lagoon. Octopus, I love the way it curled up its legs like that. Little blenny in Neisner Lagoon. Look at this little hairdo. Got a nice hairdo with little eyes. Very, very cute. The Neisner seahorse. So they're normally brown and black. So the divers often look for the yellow ones, or you actually get orange ones. So you're right out in the middle of the Neisner Lagoon where the boats go over. This is where this one was taken. And there's a little scorpion fish in the Neisner Lagoon also. Actually very poisonous, but very small. So we're going to big life. Big life, sharks. And we're going to do lots of sharks. This is a blacktip, oceanic blacktip, on a baited shark dive at Umkomaas in South Africa. A very nice place to be. They're very boisterous sharks. Actually, the shark that bites the most divers. So this is the shark that does the most biting in the world. They're very boisterous. They bump into you all the time. They really are not worried about you. As I said, it's a baited dive, so you've got baited and unbaited shark dives. So people are busy feeding these sharks. This is all in southern Natal, KZN. Quite a big shark. Yeah, as I told Peter, that was taken with a fisheye lens, so that shark is next to me. There. Yeah, there. But you've got your camera in front of you, so you hold your camera out, so it's okay. They don't. It's an unintentional bite if they bite you. They don't bite. They don't, actually. You can see the sardine has been fed a sardine up there. There's a sardine there going into that one's mouth. But they're beautifully photogenic. Somebody calls them the electric sharks when you photograph them like this. A bit of a split with them. These are the remoras. So these things stick to them as, you know, to eat the scraps. But they actually, on their own, these little guys nip you all the time. They're also a little predator on its own. So, okay, the feared Zambezi shark. This is KZN, also on a baited dive, quite deep. That's a blacktip. There's a Zambezi. This girl was big. She was a big girl. I'm going to show you pictures later with people in it. Really a beautiful dive with these things. Never seen them before. It was really nice. And you can see it's a thick, heavy shark. As I said to you, Peter, the head was about that big, broad across. It was a big shark, this. She was 200-300 pounds. And she was almost on my lap. Okay, so believe it or not, this is Cape Town. So if you drive south, sail south with a boat of Cape Town, 30-40 kilometers, you get to warm water. The bigger Cullis Current comes out, makes a big eddy off Cape Town. The water's 20-22, even right through winter. So these are blue sharks. Blue sharks are possibly one of the most elegant sharks in the water. This is taken off Cape Point. Also a baited dive. They also bump you. A lot of sharks, when you dive with them, they bump you. And one must be prepared for it because they are going to smack into you. And you must know that they're going to do it. That's a way of sensing who are you. But you can see why they're called blue sharks. Okay, young sub-adult seal. This is taken Partridge Point in Simonstown. It was quite a fun dive. And they're very inquisitive, and they come right up to you. And the big ones can be a bit of a nuisance. They can get quite aggressive, actually. But the little babies are very sweet. And the sea dogs. I had to put the penguins in. I had to put them in. I haven't got really underwater photos of them. They're very skittish to photograph underwater. I've seen very few photos of them because they just disappear if you see them. But the African penguin is an important part of our coastline. So this was just taken in the national park, at Boulders Beach. Their numbers are seriously declining. Some seals of Seal Island. This is where the sharks used to hunt. There are no more great whites at Seal Island now. The seven-gill cow sharks hunt there now. The great whites don't hunt there. There are some great whites left. They're in Gansbaai, but there are none on this place anymore. But yeah, the seals are out there, and there are lots of them. Some surface pictures in False Bay. You can recognize Helderberg in the background. Common dolphins. This was April when so the big prey in False Bay is anchovies. So they're busy looking for anchovies, and they also get together to run away from the killer whales. There's 4 killer whales that visit South Africa from the Antarctic. The 2 stay in False Bay. They hunt sharks. The other 2 move up to the Sardine Run, and they hunt dolphins. So killer whales are very specific hunters. I haven't got a picture of one. The gannets are always around. And they're very photogenic. It's something that many people can do. This is taken off the strand. Okay, we're in Cocos Island. Cocos Island is famous for hammerheads. Hammerhead sharks are very docile sharks. They're not very big sharks. So these are butterfly fish. There they are there. These are the jacks over there, butterfly fish, butterfly fish, butterfly fish. So this girl, most of them are girls that come in to be cleaned. I'll tell you now why. She'll come in and to indicate that she's not going to eat the butterfly fish, she flicks her head sideways. There's a message. And then the butterfly fish pop out of the reef. And they come closer and they start nibbling her wounds. She's got wounds because of breeding season. So when sharks breed, the male there's no ways, how do you hold on to so they actually have, these things give live birth. So the male has to hold on to the female by biting her. That's why female sharks are most times a lot larger than the male, so they can fend for themselves. That big Zambezi that I showed you was a female. The big sharks are the females, and the males are quite a lot smaller, so that they can defend themselves. But they're beautiful things. It's called a scalloped hammerhead shark. You can see the scallops of the head. Little white-tip reef shark, also at Cocos Island. A happy marble ray. Always love the smiley faces of a ray underneath. So there's its mouth over there. There's its gills over there. Okay, Galapagos sharks are big sharks. They're heavy sharks, also at Cocos Island. But a very elegant shark. A very beautiful big shark. There were lots of hammerheads. And the sad thing is that South Africa had the giant hammerhead, and there were tens of thousands, millions of them, and they're almost gone. They've been hunted out. Their breeding ground was at De Hoop. Pretty creatures. A big grouper in Cuba. So this is a cleaning station. It's a big fish. So it's about an 80, 100-pound fish. There's the cleaner. It'll go into its mouth. It'll swim out its gills. They do it with the sharks, the moray eels and everything. Also big groupers in Cuba. Nassau grouper in Cuba, these things are like, you have to push them out the way. They're very quizzy of people. A tarpon, I don't know if you've heard of tarpon fishing, tarpon, the silver fish, also in Cuba. Silky sharks at sunset in Cuba. Also a very pretty shark. Grouper come up to eat. There's a remora on a grouper. Silky sharks. Another silky shark. Caribbean reef shark, also in the Caribbean, obviously. Quite a heavy, thick-set shark also, Caribbean reef shark. And those little guys swim with, looking for the food. Okay, crocodiles. Okay, no, Peter asked me if it was in a cage. No, it's not a cage. You swim with these things. This is also in Cuba. They feed the crocodiles chicken, and they come to you and they are only interested in the chicken. American saltwater crocodile, it's quite a big crocodile, but it's known to be non-aggressive, so people dive quite freely with them. Yeah, so those are mangrove swamps in the background. There it goes. That's a big shoal of barracuda. I still want to get some more pictures of barracuda. This was taken in Bunikan in Indonesia. Okay, so still with big life, manta rays. This is in a reef called Makassar Reef in Komodo. Yes. Sorry? Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know. I didn't know how long I'd spent.
I just wanted to say that some people might be leaving.
That's okay. It's fine. It's fine. No, it's not a problem to me. No, it's not a problem. No, I didn't know how long to plan. I really didn't. I got so enthusiastic about this. Really. We're closing down to the end, though. We're getting closer to the end. So I'll go quicker. So more manta rays in Komodo. That's our dive guide. Yeah, this guy came right up to me. Also getting cleaned, by the way. All these little fish are busy cleaning the manta ray. And Komodo dragons, the big lizards. I'm going to give you scale just now. They came up to the boat. Also swimming. Some more manta rays. Black and white manta rays in the Maldivian islands. They're very nice. Every spot is different on every manta ray. It's like your fingerprint. Sunfish. If you want to see sunfish, you can go to Cape Town. This is taken in Port Elizabeth in the sardine run. This was the big one, the mola. You have to swim like crazy to keep up with them, though. So we're going to the sardine run. This is some dolphins in PE, Gqeberha. Some more dolphins in Gqeberha. The humpback of Port St. John's. So the humpbacks are not part of the sardine run. They're going up to Mozambique to breed. They're just incidental findings. They don't eat. But they're spectacular. They're one of the big breaching whales in the world, 30 tons. So dolphins doing aerial attack. So they lift themselves out the water to dive on top of the sardine bait ball. Ragged-tooth sharks, Umgazana Reef in the Transkei. Didn't have a flash with me because we're doing the sardine run, but just the silhouettes were spectacular. A little lunchtime in the sardine run, we're just sitting, and I said, I'm going to swim to this bird. And then it looked at me underwater, so cute. And so there's the sardine run, really. So these are the masters. The common dolphins are the masters of the sardine run. I mean, they swim down to 3 or 4 kilometers and bring the sardines to the surface so that everybody can feed on them. And when they do, they're very serious. They never touch you. They never bump you, even if you're right there with them. They never touch you. Sharks are always part of it. There's a shark on your left here. This was taken last year. There's a shark there. There's another shark there, actually. Copper sharks, bronze whalers, dusky sharks, blacktips. This little guy was so funny. There's a diver. There's my dive buddy. And this little gannet came down and tried to catch fish, but it cannot catch the fish without the dolphins pushing it up. So it had no chance of getting the fish, the sardines. Dolphins again. So I know we don't have that clear water up in the Transkei, but this is a mother humpback with her 2nd-year baby taken in Transkei. And yes, they make those sounds that you played. You hear it. Some more sardine run, some more sardine run. Sardine run. Sharks eating. This is wild predation. This is like watching your lion or your cheetah or something catching something. This is like, that's a blacktip, oceanic blacktip. There's a dolphin in the background. I just put this in because it's so nice for me. Look at that flick of that tail. That is from its tail. I mean, these things are moving. Some more sharks eating. You can see them eating. These are tuna. These are little tuna. That's also the Transkei. That's a classic, our bottlenose dolphin that's endemic to our area, and they love playing in the breakers, and it's really beautiful to see them. That's sunrise. Port St. John's in the winter. We're going to whale sharks. This is St. Helena Island. Whale sharks are absolutely stunning. They've all got lots of remoras on them. The biggest fish in the ocean. I'm going to give you scale just now. They also make very good black and white images. Amazing things. People. So I'm going to bring people into things before I go to something that I've missed out. So this is the baited dive at Umkomaas. That's, I forget his name now, who's feeding them. John, my friend, is there. Give you a scale the size of the Zambezi shark. That's a big female Zambezi. That's John on the left. With him, there's a blue shark. Another blue shark. That's Warren, our dive master. So people make quite nice to photograph as well. That's Warren diving in Cocos Island, one of our dive guides. Give you a scale of the jacks and the size of the shoal of jacks. That's a shoal of fish. That's a human being. So they're big fish. There's a lot of them. It's taken in Cocos Island. That's Alexandra. Again, the tarpon. That's Robert from Netherlands. Diving there. That's Alex from the UK. So you can see the size of the crocodile. Alex is quite a stocky guy. I don't know who that was in that picture, actually. But anyway, that's the crocodile. These are the silky sharks. Silky sharks. There's David in Bunaken on our first trip to Indonesia. I'll just put this in. It's not a sea photograph. That's the size of a Komodo dragon. That's all of us over there. It's quite a big lizard. Just a silhouette of a diver. The manta rays. That's David being silly, but it was quite a nice photograph. So we were diving in an area where volcanic gas was escaping from the ocean floor, and there were sulfur deposits there. It's actually quite amazing. That's Soo Young Kim from Korea. We're in Indonesia again with these huge amount of fish, impossible amounts of fish. Yeah. Also Indonesia, Raja Ampat. Bunaken. This is taken in Sodoardo Bay. This was our Alexa, our dive master. Then I met somebody in the Philippines by accident. Her name is Rachel. She comes from Hawaii. She's a free diver. And I said I wanted to photograph her. And she said, yes, I knew her for less than 24 hours. And so very strong, it makes very pretty photographs. That's a beautiful photograph, I think. That is Jennifer Liu from the US photographing the sardines with her dive guide. There she is in the background there again, photographing the sharks. So you can see how close we are to the feeding sharks. That's a wreck of St. Helena, the scale of a wreck. Whale sharks, look at the people. That's our boat. That's our boat. We're all getting on that boat. So they are huge things. So there's one thing I've left out. I haven't shown you turtles. And turtles are a big passion of mine, which you're going to hear. Sorry, ek is jammer, ek praat te veel. So this is a hawksbill turtle, close up, a green turtle in Bunaken. They're very beautiful things. They're wonderful creatures, these things. That's a sleeping turtle. Turtles sleep underwater. Head is down. They can hold their breath for 5 or 6 hours. So they've got no problem with that. This is quite a big one. It's wonderful to dive with them in Bunaken because there are a lot of them there. It's a marine protected area, so you definitely will see them. They've got the prettiest shell as far as I'm concerned. And the water's incredibly clear. They sleep in sponges. They sleep everywhere. They're around everywhere. So they were looking after babies, and they gave me a baby to photograph. And I must tell you that you have to swim hard to keep up with this baby turtle. And yeah, we could do that. Yeah, it's about 8-10 centimeters long. Oh, this one saw its reflection in my dome port and came and actually tried to bite its my dome port, but this was taken in the Philippines. Maldives, a hawksbill, an eating hawksbill. You can see some stuff out of its mouth over there. Another hawksbill. So we're back in the Two Oceans Aquarium, and we nearly ended now. So there's a big conservation effort in the Two Oceans Aquarium for many things, and the ocean's got a lot of problems. 90% of the big fish in the ocean are gone. Not the little fish, the big fish. It's the plastic garbage patch, they call it the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, is the size of France in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, of nets and plastic. David and I have been witness to the plastic in Komodo, where your boat just sails through plastic that's that thick on top of the water for kilometers and kilometers and kilometers. So I've seen it. So here is Bob and Harry in the Two Oceans Aquarium. We're diving in the tank. The Two Oceans rescues turtles. Turtles are very big in South Africa. They wash down. We've got big breeding colonies up in KZN. Leatherback and loggerheads, the two biggest turtles in the world, but we get greens. We get 5 out of 7 species here of the world species. And there's a big rescue and rehabilitation program, which I'm part of. We do CT scans and MRI scans on turtles. We look at their brains, we look at their lungs, and there's been a lot of nice things that come out. There's vets that work with us and work with the team, and so that's Talita, who heads up the program. So she's busy feeding Bob. Bob is the big turtle that you see in the Two Oceans in the I&J exhibit, and sometimes Bob, you have to push him off because he just gets a nuisance. So they're using certain techniques. So Bob recognizes that pattern, and that turtle knows that that pattern equals food. And Bob is a vegan, so those are peppers. And turtles have to lunge for their food, and if they lose the wild ability to lunge and to grab their food, a lot of turtles eat jellyfish and they haven't got hands or paws. And they lose that, and Bob has lost these because he had meningitis. You have to teach them back again, otherwise they can't eat. And so that's what they're busy doing. That's what they're busy doing. There's Anne, she's the CEO of the aquarium. She's doing this little Harry. Harry's been released now. Harry's out in the ocean. We're doing the same thing. And there's Bob and Harry. Just taking a breath of air. There's Talita and Bob. There's Bob again. These are the babies, the hatchlings. Any of you got houses, in the Southern Cape, De Hoop, especially around Struisbaai, you're going to get lots of these things. There are lots of them around. They're washing down KZN. There were 170 in the aquarium a couple of weeks ago of these babies. Some of them were sent back to KZN because they simply couldn't keep with the number of them. These are little baby loggerheads that are hatched on our shores. They're tiny, they're beautiful, they're very sweet. That's Alexandra. She's the animal behavior person at the aquarium. That's with Big Bob. You can see how big Bob is. There's Jerry. So turtles can live without a flipper. Flipper bitten off probably by a shark. So Jerry's been released. She's up the west coast. She's flying up somewhere north. We don't know where she is anymore. So there's a big release day. This was in January. It was quite a wonderful day. They put radio transmitters on some of them, but they cost over 60,000 rand. So we're 40 kilometers south of Cape Town in the warm water. I'm in the water with some other people, and we're releasing turtles. 44 turtles released. This is Lychee. You can see her transmitter. There goes Jerry with her 3 flippers. That's James Lowe in the water. That's James again. That's Harry. That's a little hatchling with another person that works in the aquarium, Danny. Hatchlings going in the water. More hatchlings, and they're very sweet. I mean, that's Anne from the aquarium, Anne Lamont. She's the CEO, as I said. A nice photograph of her it's on her desktop now. And then everybody just having fun and celebrating afterwards. Okay, I'm finished. I'm finished. Okay. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's hard to judge the time, actually. I thought it's on. Okay.
David, if we can have lights quickly, I'm not going to be long, sadly, because I'm not sure what the word was you used the most while you watched this. Was it wow? What? Yeah, it's just amazing. What interested me was you won't pick it up, although you are really focused on detail, you won't pick it up. But you don't talk, you once said about the pygmy.
Pygmy seals, yeah.
Yeah, the pygmy seals, you called it a him and then you said, or it. So matter changed for you. That's what happened to you. They become sort of living creatures.
It's a living creature, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
with names in the end.
Yes.
With character traits.
Yes.
It's not just things.
No,
Have you
they're not
picked that
things.
up?
No.
My question is, how did that happen to you? And I will answer it just for the sake of time in terms of time. A lot of time. How long does it take to take pictures like that? How many hours underneath sea?
Well, I don't know. I've done over 1,000 dives, so I don't know. You know, if you're trying to photograph, things happen. Like on the Cedine run, you go click, 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 and you just hope something comes out because it's happening so quickly, and you're swimming so fast. And you're swimming as hard as you can for as long as you can. So you're out of breath all the time. You're running on empty. And so if you're photographing a pygmy seahorse, it can get very frustrating because they're very strong little things. They're so small, but they flick themselves around. They just go, they disappear and you can't see it. So you're busy photographing at 2.5 times life size and you've got that much depth of field and you've got to search and then it's gone. Yeah. Then you start all over again. Yeah. Then you can swear a little bit underwater.
Yeah. I know, I can imagine. I've done some microphotography of insects and I've done some of flowers, meeldrade en stampers en so aan. En jy moet verskriklik baie lig opsit want jy is verskriklik naby aan die objek, so daar's nie genoeg lig nie. Nou kan ek dit net dink, ek het al 'n drift dive gedoen en so aan en ek kan dit nie indink hoe jy dit doen nie.
No, you can do it. You can do it. You can do it.
So die rede vir die vraag is vir daai vraag en dis wat ek hoop jy vanaand iets kon van hoor is intentional practice, effort. Dit vra regtig 'n groot klomp effort. Ek wil hierdie Matthias en ek het donderdag gesels oor sy sessie van volgende week en toe sê Matthias vir my en Matthias is self 'n fotograaf met pretty goeie fotos. Wat hy vir my sê, ja, Pieter se fotos is National Geographic standaard. Ja, en is regtig amazing. Die presiesheid daarvan uit 'n kunstenaars oogpunt, net die komposisie van hierdie goed. Ek kry dit nie eens reg terwyl ek gewoon asemhaal nie. So ja, Christian, jy is self 'n fotograaf, jy sal dit kan waardeer. Dis net amazing, jou composition, jou aanvulling daarvoor, net die artistic effek daarvan is net amazing. Ek hoop jy kan ergens, David terloops, jy lyk beter onder water as bo water. En nee, sorry, ek joke met jou. Maar wat ek sommer net wil sê ook in erkenning, jou pa daarom erkenning gegee vir die klomp fotos, maar daar's vreeslik baie beligting wat nodig is. So mens kan dit ook nie alleen doen heeltemal eintlik nie. Hulp is altyd
goed. Hulp is altyd lekker. Dis altyd lekker. Dit regtig is altyd lekker om hulp te absoluut ja. En 'n model. Dis moeilik om mense te kry om 'n regte model vir jou.
Yes. Okay.
But you want scale. Jy wil dit in perspektief stel, ja.
Ek wonder ons tyd is heel verby. Een of twee vrae dalk vir Pieter. Ek gaan regtig net een of twee vrae vanaand. Yes, asseblief Matthias.
I have a question. It's related to the whole conservation of seas. In your time, since you started diving and since you started taking photographs, have you seen the decline?
Yeah.
And tell us a bit about that.
Okay, so I was running out of time. I actually wanted to bring it in. Okay, it was part of when I was thinking this afternoon, I wanted to bring it in. So I started diving when I was a little boy. I got my snorkel at 6 or 7, I think I was 6. And the fish were full up. And my father was a fisherman. I came from a family of fishermen. And so I knew the whole eastern seaboard very, very well, from the Transkei down to the Southern Cape. And so I'm used to seeing big mussel cracker, big poenskop, big red steenbras. I've seen tuna from the rocks. I've been standing on the rocks and saw the tuna in the water. And I've seen them hunt. I've seen them do all that. I've seen silver stem rods in rock pools. So they say 90% of the world's big fish. I've seen it in my own lifetime. My first manta ray I saw, I was 12 years old diving in Sinsa. They're not there anymore. They're not there anymore. 90% of the world's, I've seen it. I'm witness to it. I've seen it. I've seen it. Uncle John and I used to go fishing in the Transkei in Mazeppa Bay. And I used to walk on the rocks, and I used to take my snorkel with me. And I remember pools full of fish this big, that big. Cape St. Francis, Oyster Bay, the silver stem rods swam past you in the gullies. You saw them. It was just common. I mean, black stem rods, the punskop, you don't see them anymore. They've got two in the two oceans. You actually go and see them because it's a completely endemic fish. I used to swim with them. All of them.
Can we turn it around?
Sorry?
Can we turn it around?
Absolutely. So the whole thing is, if you know somebody, her name is Sylvia Earle. She's an American person. She's old now. Sylvia's over 80. She still dives. And she's got Mission Blue. And she said, you've saved 30% of the seas. The 70%, we can take the rest. We can take everything from save 30%. It's completely renewable on 30%. At the moment, we're saving 10%. So we're way under. So the whole thing is now, that's why Ecuador and Costa Rica and Panama have changed that whole thing of the Galapagos. That's why we see these schools of fish now. You don't see a fishing boat there. We can do without fish. We don't have to have fish. I grew up on fish. I like fish, but we can do without it. 46% of the world's fish that are taken out from the world is China. 46%, 54% the rest of the world. 100 million sharks killed every year. It's frightening, just for shark fin soup, nothing else. Sure. It's scary. It's a scary story. Have I seen things trapped in nets? Yes, I've pulled a turtle out of a net before. Yeah.
Okay, so I've talked with Peter on Monday. He's got a great network, as you've heard through the talk. And what we'll do is really try to line up some conservational projects. Links.
Yeah, it'll be
We've had a
nice.
cleanup of one of the beaches with the teenagers, but there's some bird cleaning and stuff like that. And they call him Turtle Daddy at the aquarium.
No, that's me, Turtle Daddy.
Ja, hy help gereeld daar en finansiëel is daar ondersteuning nodig en dan sommer net hands-on soos julle
Hands-on
gesien
stuff. You don't have to have the money. There's lots of hands-on stuff. There's really a lot of hands-on stuff. They had a whole lot of birds now. The cormorants came in, the penguins came in, just to clean and feed them. You don't have to pay anything. They're looking for you. They're looking for anybody.
Nog 'n vraag dalk? My laaste vraag, as niemand se hand vinnig opskiet nie, is Peter, so you have a practice, intentional hobby or habit that's become hobby, that's become a habit. You do it quite often, not often enough, I'm sure, but you do it quite often.
Yeah.
How does your hobby or habit of wonder and awe change you as a person?
It makes me very aware of my Creator. Absolutely. I cannot believe the things that I've seen and I've experienced, and I've realized, and humans also make me feel like that, but just the absolute incredible mind of God. This huge, must be an amazing God who made all these things that are so adaptable and that are able to evolve, if I may use that word, and adapt and to deal with life. Life's quite harsh out there for these creatures. It's not easy. A turtle has a low survival rate. The little pretty fish on the reef dive into that coral at night because the sharks are going to eat them. So it's a hard life out there, but how everything adapted and everything's so beautiful. And it's a funny quote. It's a quote that I remember quite well. I love the birds of paradise in Papua New Guinea, West Papua. And David Attenborough was busy filming them for the BBC, and he was sitting out there, and came on the TV. I'm wondering why this was made. And I know the answer to that. It was made because God found pleasure and delight in it, and it's meant for us. It's our gift. It's His gift to us. So that's what it makes me. Okay.
Attention to detail, yeah.
Yep, that's what it is.
Ek wil jou uitdaag, die plan was nou dat ons net 'n brainstorm sou hou van moontlike hobbies wat habits kan word. Ek dink sommer aan 'n wynproe-gilde waarvan ek deel was. Ek dink aan Saterdag se vroue wat speserye gemeng het om kos te maak. Is curry tyd. Dis tyd vir geurende kos. Ek en Peer, my seentjie, omdat ons so lief is vir gemorskos, ry ons nou by KFC verby en ons maak of ons naar word as ons daai reuk van KFC kry. Ons doen dit net om vir onsself te sê, daai is rubbish. Oor die wonder van kos maak, byvoorbeeld. Ek dink uit die se skilderye in terme van die wonders van kleur en komposisie en fyn goed raak sien. Ek dink aan sommer net foto's neem met jou iPhone of wat ook al. Ek wonder wat se gewoonte jy vir jouself kan kry, soos wat Pieter nou oor jare heen 2 van sy passies het 'n habit geword van wonder and awe. En ek's van oortuiging as ek na sy conservation hart luister, en ek het nou baie meer daarvan gehoor as julle, dat dit iets aan ons doen wat maak dat ons anders leef en anders kyk. So ek wil jou uitgedaag het dat jy vir jouself so een habit begin kry, net een, wat jy op 'n gereelde basis, met ander woorde jy moet dit amper skeduleer en gereeld beoefen, met die oog daarop om iets in jou manier van kyk en aan jou hart uiteindelik te verander. So volgende week kyk ons baie wyd. Een ding wat Matthias toe nou vir my sê, en amper so half pardon pun, maar die ruimte is nogal ruim, het hy gesê.
Dis 'n groot plek, ja.
So volgende week gaan ons 'n bietjie vra oor, so hierdie is 'n habit. Volgende week gaan ons 'n bietjie vra oor die wetenskap. En ek sien hier's 'n paar dosente en hier's 'n geoloog onder andere en so aan. Maar kan en het die wetenskap die vermoë gehad, dink ek, om vir eers die mense wonder te steel. En vir baie mense het dit gebeur. Die vraag is kan die wetenskap ons help om juis in verwondering te kom? En Matthias gaan volgende week met die wonders en die misterie van die ruimte. Terloops, Pieter sê ons weet meer van die ruimte as van die see.
Yep.
Blykbaar, maar in elk geval, en dis net hier. Ek dink jy het dit vanaand bewys ook, net deur Valsbaai so in te bring. Ja, so volgende week luister ons saam na Matthias, en Matthias gaan 'n paar interessante wetenskaplike inligting ook deel, soos wat hy sy prentjies van verwondering met ons deel, en dan gaan ons 'n bietjie by die wetenskap uitkom. Ek challenge jou in die week, ons gaan volgende week begin daar weer, met wat se habit het jy hierdie week beoefen, om jou in verwondering te bring. Kom ons maak ons oë toe, dan lees ek vir ons 'n gedig van Mary Oliver. Who made the world, who made the swan and the black bear, who made the grasshopper, this grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention. How to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I've been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? En ek wil sê amen.
Ja.
So mag jy wakker word vir die wonder van die lewe, deur sommer net na ou springkaan te kyk. Mag jy 'n goeie week hê, mag die reën jou in verwondering bring, wees veilig en ry veilig. Sien mekaar volgende week. Dankie. Dankie vir julle geduld met die tyd ook, waardeer.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.